In this section, I will be starting with the third module of embedded system. So the first part of the third module deals with the memory and its types, and then later proceeding to memory map. So in this section, I will explain about the concept of memory and its basic types. So how is a memory? A memory is just like a human brain, how we are going to process the informations which we store. So speaking in an embedded system, the storage device in a system which is used to store the instructions and the data. So where the data is to process and the instructions which is required for processing, they are being stored. So all this being stored in a memory of a computer system, and memory you can think like of small cells, and each and every cell they have got a unique address, and this address it will vary from say 0 to memory size -1. So this is how usually we specify the address in case of a system, that is 0 to memory size -1. And the memory chips, they do not specifically have read and write pins as separate. That is, there will be a single read bar write pin which will control the direction of data transfer. So either you can write to or read from the pin. So there will be a single read or write signal which is being applied, and most of the memories they will also include a enable signal pin which allows the tri-stating of data onto the memory pins. So tri-stating, it is a high impedance state, that is it will allow say output pin to assume a high impedance state, effectively removing the output from the circuit. That is in addition to the logic 1 and 0 levels. So we can have the sharing, that is multiple circuits, they are being able to share the same output line. So that is why most memory include a enable signal pin. So this is typically a memory array shown. So the characteristic of memory will be specified by memory capacity and the aspect ratio. So the first basic characteristic of a memory is its capacity or the size. But several versions will be available for memory of a same size, each with a different data width. For example, if you consider a 256 MB memory, it may be in two versions, either like 64 mega into 4-bit array or 32 mega into 8-bit array. So the memory capacity is one of the most important characteristic of a memory specification. Another thing is the aspect ratio. That is, we consider the data to be stored in the memory like cells. So it will be type of a matrix, that is we will be specifying a row, we will be specifying a column. So internally the data will be stored as a two-dimensional array of cells in a memory chip. The height bar width ratio of a memory. So usually the aspect ratio is height to width ratio of the memory. It is called as its aspect ratio. So the best aspect ratio depends on the amount of memory required. And the array of memory is in two-dimensional. So the n-bit address. So if you are having say this is an n-bit address, it is specified by the row address and a column address. So we can say n is equal to r plus c. The row and the column, it is going to select a particular memory cell in the memory array. Okay, so this is shows the r and c, that is a row and a column which is going to specify this particular n, that is the n-bit address in the memory array, and there will be a single read bar write pin with the enable pin. And this is how the memory hierarchy of a system is. So these are the internal memory, and the outwards are the external memory. So these are the auxiliary memory, that is magnetic disk or magnetic tape or optical disk. All these are external memory required for additional storage, and these are the basic internal memory, CPU memory, cache memory, etc. So CPU registers, cache memory, main memory, all those are internal memory, and magnetic disk, tape, optical tape, they are all external memory. So there is a memory hierarchy in a system. As you can see, it's usually given like a triangle shape. So most commonly the system is going to access the internal memory. Okay, if it want to access the external memory, it's the access time by the CPU will be increased. So that is why it is written here. As we move from the top to bottom, the access time by the CPU increases, and most commonly the CPU will be accessing the main memory. So the frequency of access of the memory by CPU decreases. That is, as we move from top to bottom, it less frequently accesses this external memory. But the cost per bit of storage, it is going to decrease as we move from the top to bottom, and capacity also in terms of storage, it is going to be more for the external memory. So as we move from top to bottom, capacity is going to increase and cost per bit is going to decrease. So these are the advantage, but most commonly the access is going to be for the main memory. So the frequency of access is going to decrease and access time by the CPU is going to increase. So this is a memory hierarchy, and most of the system, they are going to contain the two types of basic memory, that is the read-only memory and the random access memory, RAM and ROM. So in this section we will be seeing only about what is RAM, what is ROM, and what are its classification. We are not going to discuss about these external memory. So we will see now what is ROM, RAM and its classifications, as all of the system consist of at least basically these two types of memory. So first one is the read-only memory. So the memory from which we can only read but we cannot write onto it. And another very important feature is it is non-volatile. Okay, what do you mean by non-volatile? Non-volatile means that data will be permanently stored in it. Even if the power supply is being turned off also, the data which is present, it will be there. It stores such instruction as required to start the computer when electricity is first turned on. There is information will be permanently stored in such memories during manufacture, and ROM image, it will hold the program, operating system and data required by the system. That is, we have learned in software embedded in a system, we have learned what is the concept of ROM image. That is, whatever we have programmed, say for an embedded system particular application, for example, say like in microwave oven or washing machine, it is intended to perform say a specific application. So it will be having only the required amount of software and the necessary amount of hardware, necessary hardware components in it. So once we have programmed, we are going to burn it as a ROM image and into the required hardware system. So this is a concept of ROM image which you have already learned. So read-only memory is used for such kinds of application. In specific, say electronic items like microwave oven, washing machine, etc. So data which is being permanently required by the system, and it's a type of non-volatile memory. So we will now see the different classifications of read-only memory. First one is say masked ROM. That is the very first ROM. That is, in the case of this masked ROM, programming is performed during the IC fabrication itself. So it contains a pre-programmed set of data or instruction, so also called as masked ROM, and it is also inexpensive type of ROM which is used for large scale manufacturing, and you have to see also its uses. That is, it's a finalized ROM image of system program, data, pictograms, image pixels for the fonts of a language. So just study the uses also of the different types of memory. Next one is programmable ROM. So in masked ROM, we cannot program it again. Okay, that is during the time of IC fabrication itself, the programming is being done and we cannot change it. And in case of programmable ROM, we can modify it but only once. That is the difference. There is a read-only memory which can be modified once by the user, but only once it can be modified. That is, a user is going to buy a blank PROM and enters the desired contents using a prompt programmer. Once it is written, it cannot be erased. So some examples are like of the ATM card or identity card, smart card, identity number. So all these, you can buy a blank card and you can program it once. But once if it is written and programmed or burned, it is not being erasable. So in case of masked ROM, it is programmed during IC fabrication itself. But in programmable ROM, you can buy a blank and then enter the desired contents. But once entered and burned, it is not being erasable, and these are its uses. And next type is the erasable and programmable ROM. So unlike this programmable ROM, which can only be modified once, in case of erasable, you can erase it. How can you erase it? By means of UV rays. That is UV erasable and electrically programmable by a device programmer. Expose it to UV for up to 40 minutes. So it can be erased and then programmed up to 10,000 times. Whereas in the case of programmable ROM, this type of memory only once by the user. It can be modified. But in this case, you can modify up to 10,000 times. So that much advantage is there. And it is being subjected to UV exposure for some time. So any of the location you can selectively erase and then program it. So can erase say one byte at a time rather than erasing the entire chip. So you can see that reprogramming is flexible. That is, this type you can use it for applications which are being flexible if you want to change in between, but it is slow mechanism. And the uses are, you can store the port status, you can store either the current date and time in a machine, or for storing driving malfunctions and failure history in automobile. So where you require frequent updations to be stored in the memory. So in that cases, you can go for this type of programmable ROM, that is erasable programmable ROM. So selectively, say a byte can be erased rather than erasing the entire chip. By exposing it to UV, you can program it up to 10,000 times. Another thing is a flash memory. Again, it is a classification which is coming under the EEPROM. So here you can erase a sector of bytes in a flash. That is the concept. So that is why it's called as a flash memory. That is very short duration corresponding to a single clock cycle. So at a time itself, you can erase a large number of sector of bytes. So more increasing efficiency when you're comparing to EEPROM, and these are the uses. That is storing the SMS in a mobile phone, or storing voice compressed form in a voice recorder, storing pictures in digital camera. So for all such enhanced application where we require to process the digital data for large amount of digital data storage or deletion, we need to have this flash memory in our embedded system, because simultaneously it is necessary to erase a large number of bytes. Okay, so that is the concept of flash memory. So we are now coming to the next classification, that is the random access memory. Okay, so in the case of a random access memory, that is going to constitute the internal memory of the CPU for storing the data, program and program result. The RAM, it can be both the read and write memory. So this type of memory is for both reading and writing. Small both in terms of its physical size and data it can hold. So the RAM is going to hold only a little amount of data. When we are speaking of this memory, it's used to hold the program, OS and data required by the computer system, and it is generally a volatile. What do you mean by volatile? That is, once you turn off the power, the data in it is gone. Okay, it does not retain the data. So often it requires a backup UPS is used with the computer. And another important property is the access time in RAM. So the access time in RAM, it is independent of the address to the word. That is, every location it takes the same time, so random access. So in whichever memory location, if you are going to place the data, the access time, it is going to remain the one and the same. That is, even if you are placing it in say first memory location, or even if you are going to place it in last memory location, the access time, it is going to be one and the same. So used for saving the variables, stacks, process control blocks, input buffer, output buffer, decompressed format of program and data at the ROM image. So this is a type of volatile memory. So for temporary storage etc., we can use this type of RAM memory. And access time, it is independent of the address. So we are having, we can say that we are having a random access. We can reach the memory at random way, but it is extremely fast. But it can be some quite expensive also, this type of RAM memory. Now we will see the two important classifications of RAM, that is SRAM and DRAM. SRAM is a static RAM and DRAM is a dynamic RAM. So in case of difference, if you are seeing the specific differences between the static RAM and the dynamic RAM, the static RAM, in this case the storage elements are 6 transistors and no capacitors will be there. But in the case of DRAM, the cells, memory cells, they will be made of 1 transistor and 1 capacitor. So since there is no capacitor in case of static RAM, there is no need for refreshing, but DRAM have to be continuously refreshed. But cost is more for static RAM because we are using 6 transistors, so manufacturing cost will be higher, but SRAM will be more fast when we are comparing to DRAM, and DRAM will be most commonly used in high performance computers or high memory density system. There is DRAM will be used in main memory systems, whereas SRAM they may be used in cache memory. And again another classification, that is of DRAM itself, we can have synchronous DRAM or rampus DRAM. In synchronous DRAM, it is going to synchronize the operation, that is read operation. While one word is ready, it will keep the next word ready. Okay, and for clock rate up to maximum speed up to 1 gigahertz. And in case of rampus DRAM, it can access a burst of say 4 successive words in a single cycle, single fetch itself, and it is also used for clock rate say up to 1 gigahertz, etc. Then another 2 classifications are also there, that is extended data out RAM and parameterized distributed RAM. So in the case of extended data out RAM, it is used for lesser clock rates, say up to 100 megahertz, and a 0 state will be needed. In between the 2 fetches, there will be a requirement of this wait state, and in a single cycle, either a read or a write operation is possible. Parameterized distributed RAM, that is RAM is going to distribute in various system subunits. That is when we are having a distributed system where the input output units and the transceiver subunits, they can have a slice of RAM each. So these are the various classifications of the RAM and the ROM. So mainly all the system, they will be consisting of 2 types of memory, that is RAM memory and the ROM memory. And we have seen about what is the basic differences, that is main differences, RAM is volatile and ROM is non-volatile. And we have also seen about the classifications of RAM and ROM. So understand that in all embedded system there is a memory hierarchy. That is, there will be internal memory, and if needed, obviously there is a need for external memory also. And in this section we have discussed about the basic concept of what is a memory array, characteristic, and the different 2 types of memory, that is a RAM memory and ROM memory. Now in the next section I will be explaining about the concept of memory map. Okay, so the next section will be about the concept of memory map table, and also memory management unit.